I didn't see the storm coming. Not at first, when your wife starts to drift. It doesn't crash into you like a tidal wave. It doesn't roar. It seeps in quiet, insidious like fine grains of sand slipping from beneath your feet until you're ankle deep in absence. My name is Eric. I'm 38. Megan and I have been married for 8 years. We met under the sterile flicker of fluorescent store lights, working retail in our 20s, folding shirts, restocking shelves, trading glances and jokes across racks of denim and end-of-season clearance bins. She was the kind of woman who danced barefoot in puddles, to songs echoing from passing cars, who made paper cranes from receipts, and convinced strangers to sing with her in parking lots. Wild, unpredictable, electric. I adored that spark in her. Maybe I still do. Or maybe what I truly mourned was the ghost of that girl who once looked at me like I was a universe. Over the past couple of years, I've felt married not to her, but to her shadow. Her eyes and voice remained the same, but the tenderness, the warmth, the magnetic pull that once anchored us had vanished. Our conversations became mechanical. Her touch, when it happened at all, felt like an afterthought. I tried to breathe life into the fading intimacy, planned dinners, suggested movie nights, asked if she'd just sit beside me and talk. There was always something: fatigue, migraines, stress, an ever-growing need for space, and I gave her that space. Blindly, foolishly. She began going out more. At first, it was co-workers, then her sister, then distant college friends who suddenly re-emerged. I told myself to trust her, reminded myself I wasn't the jealous type, but I noticed I was no longer being invited. Even when I offered, she waved me off with a dismissive, "It's just girls' night. You won't enjoy it." I would fake a smile, nod, and bury the sting behind my eyes. Then came the party, a house gathering hosted by a colleague of hers, a mix of work friends and unknowns. Megan mentioned it casually, almost like an afterthought. Her tone suggested indifference, like asking if I wanted to tag along for a trip to the DMV. But I said yes. I got a fresh haircut, pulled out my favorite shirt, even brought a decent bottle of wine. Somewhere deep inside, I hoped maybe tonight the old Megan would make a cameo. She looked stunning that night, a sleek black dress that clung to her with practiced elegance, heels clicking against the pavement with a confidence that made my breath hitch. I told her she looked beautiful. Her reply was vacant, like a transaction. Input compliment, output polite thank you. Inside the party, she transformed. Laughter spilled from her like champagne, her energy magnetic as she glided from circle to circle, hugging people with giddy affection. But not once did she introduce me. I stood next to her for a time, a forgotten statue, nodding through stories that didn't include me. I tried to speak up once, maybe twice, but it was like whispering through thick glass. She disappeared into the crowd. No explanation, no glance. I perched at the edge of a couch, drink in hand, trying to appear casual. James from marketing sat beside me briefly. Our conversation was dry, perfunctory, and quickly ended. I watched Megan sparkle across the room, fully present with everyone but me. I didn't feel angry. I felt hollow, as though someone had quietly unplugged my soul. Then Taylor appeared. I knew her face, freckles like constellations, red hair pulled back in a loose knot. We'd spoken in passing before. She looked at me that night with a directness that startled me. "Are you okay?" she asked. My confusion must have shown. She clarified gently, "You've been sitting alone for over an hour." Megan's been preoccupied. I let out a bitter chuckle. "She's working the room." Taylor tilted her head. "She's acting single." The words landed like stones. She shrugged. "Sorry, I just hate watching good people get sidelined. You look like a ghost." And then, without ceremony, she reached for my hand. "Dance with me." I hesitated, laughed it off, but she didn't ask again, just gently tugged until I stood, and we were on the dance floor, moving awkwardly to a retro pop song, hands tentatively touching. It wasn't flirtatious, it was grounding, human, a lifeline. Across the room, Megan saw us. Her smile stuttered mid-sentence. Her gaze shifted. She looked away. But I caught the flicker of recognition. Something in her noticed. That was the moment I shattered. Not out of vengeance, not because Taylor danced with me, but because it confirmed a truth I had buried. I had become invisible to the person who once knew me best, and it took a near stranger to remind me I was still here. The rest of the night is a blur. A few more songs, a drink or two, then silence. We left together, Megan and I, but not really. She didn't ask about the dance, didn't even mention Taylor. Just scrolled through her phone while I drove. But something had shifted. There was no dramatic exit, no packed bags. But inside me, something had changed. A quiet rebellion began to take root. I thought I still loved her, or maybe I just loved the echo of who she used to be. But I started to distinguish between love and longing. Her silence no longer stung the same way. Her dismissiveness lost its bite. The pedestal cracked. Monday morning, I received a message. Taylor, hey, hope you're okay. Sorry if that dance was out of line. You just looked like someone who needed to be reminded they were still here. It felt like sunlight breaking through dungeon walls. We messaged lightly, nothing hidden, no betrayal, just small honesty. She asked about Megan. I replied, it's complicated. One night, she sent a voice note. You deserve someone who looks at you like you matter, not like you're haunting their comfort zone. That echoed in my mind for days. Megan returned to her rhythm of scrolling. One-word replies, unexplained absences. The party was never mentioned again, the dance erased, but I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unknow what it had stirred. I kept trying. Bought her favorite wine, no reaction. Suggested a weekend trip. She declined. I brought up therapy. She laughed and called me dramatic. So, I stopped trying. I stopped checking her location. I stopped sending those, when will you be home, texts. I stopped prying life into dead conversations. Instead, I turned inward, long walks, then short jogs, then lifting dusty weights in the garage, not to impress, to reclaim. I started listening to podcasts not about relationships, but self-discovery. I picked up freelancing again, graphic design, small projects, for identity, not income. To remember I existed beyond her indifference. Taylor never crossed boundaries. She became a quiet presence, a meme here, a kind word there. Once, she said, that night, your eyes looked like storm clouds, but when we danced, the sun peeked through. I hope that guy comes back. Then came the gut punch. We were exchanging playlists when Taylor paused. I probably shouldn't say this, but Megan talks about you like you're a burden, like she's stuck with you. I froze. She really says that, not verbatim, but yeah, she jokes, rolls her eyes, talks like you're some sad, clingy man always trying too hard. I thought it was venting, but after the party, it didn't sit right. It pierced, deeper than any argument, not just because it was cruel, but because it confirmed what I had already felt. The disdain in her sighs, the contempt in her coldness, now spoken aloud by someone else. Respect was gone, and without it, love had nowhere to live. That night, I sat in our room, unmoving. Megan was out again. I cried. Not from rage, not from self-pity, but grief, deep, suffocating grief, for the man I used to be, the one who broke himself trying to love a woman who found him laughable. But in that grief, something new bloomed, a rebirth. When the tears dried, I saw clearly. I didn't need to win her back. I didn't have to plead or prove. I had nothing left to offer to someone who had already decided I was nothing. And so I untethered myself, emotionally, spiritually. I was no longer her husband. Even if paperwork still said I was. Weeks passed. I moved differently, stopped sharing details, stopped orbiting her moods, focused on my healing, my reconstruction. Megan noticed. Confused, maybe irritated. Why so quiet lately? Something bothering you? No, I replied. Just focused. I meant it. I was focused on my departure, on reclaiming my sovereignty. Taylor and I reconnected gently, still respectful, still platonic. She told me, Eric, whether you end up alone or with someone, I hope you find joy. You have a glow she never stopped to see. And she was right. I had starved for crumbs of affection while forgetting my own soul. And my awakening wasn't romantic. It was a single dance, a glance, a hand reaching into the dark and saying, you matter. Megan never saw it coming. That night at the party when she dismissed me like static, I had already begun my exit, not physically, spiritually. Marriages don't always end in slammed doors or shouted ultimatums. Sometimes they die like coals in an empty hearth quiet, cold, forgotten. By the time I left, I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing. And that nothingness, that was my freedom. It happened on a Saturday. Her sister's birthday, rooftop bar downtown. Megan didn't ask if I wanted to go, just informed me. We leave at 7. Like luggage, I dressed in silence. She looked dazzling, emerald dress, hair curled. But it wasn't for me. It hadn't been for a long time. At the event, the script repeated. Megan dazzled. I hovered, no introductions, just a fading figure in her periphery. I wandered to the rooftop's edge. The wind stung, but the solitude soothed. Taylor appeared. We hadn't seen each other since the party. She sat beside me. Didn't expect to see you here. Roommate knows Megan's sister, she said. We talked about everything, about nothing. When she asked how I was, I said honestly, I'm okay. I think I'm ready to let go. She smiled. Good. You look lighter, like you finally stopped dragging someone else's shadow. Later, Megan found us. Jaw tight, eyes flicking. I've been looking for you. No, I said softly. You haven't. She blinked, then snapped. Thought you'd mingle instead of sulking. Taylor looked to me, silently asking if she should go. I shook my head. I'm not sulking, I replied. I'm done pretending. Pretending what? I stood. No anger, just clarity, that we're okay. That this marriage isn't hollow. I'm done being invisible. I was your husband until you stopped treating me like one. Silence. People turned. You're making a scene, she hissed. No, I made silence. For years. This is truth. I turned to Taylor. Thank you. To Megan. I'm leaving tonight. You're free. You're being dramatic. She scoffed. I leaned in. Calmly. Double quotes. No. I was dramatic when I wept alone at a.m. wondering why I wasn't enough. This is peace. And I walked. Packed a bag. Booked a rental. Shut off my phone. Days passed. Quiet. Sacred. I made breakfast. Took walks. Slept dreamlessly. Megan called. Texted. Even showed up at my sister's. My sister answered, gracious and firm. Eric's fine. He just stopped chasing what wouldn't. Stop running. Weeks passed. I began therapy, reconnected with friends, rebuilt. Megan sent a long email, regretful, apologetic, laced with hindsight. The old me would have replied. The new me smiled. I had already done the bravest thing. I chose myself and never looked back.